You're welcome to Searching the Heart this morning, and I don't know, spontaneously I just thought I should continue where I stopped in the other sub-series, talking about prophecy and some of the contemporary events that picture prophecy and the implications of failed prophecies and even those implications for Christianity and for the world at large. And I want to just continue from there. And today I'm going to be focusing on certain things. I want you to just be patient with me as I read from a particular scripture, one of those very pungent scriptures that has really dominated the discussion within among Christian theologians and of course pastors and prophets themselves, people who claim to be prophets. Okay, and this prophecy is found throughout the book of Revelation itself in the Bible. Revelation is a unique book that is thought of as an apocalyptic book, talking about the end times, and the whole book has a lot within it to unpack when it comes to prophecy. And most of the prophecies, it is agreed that most of the prophecies within the book of Revelation have already happened. Although in my view, we still experience still the ongoing of fulfillments, as we go on. When you read the book, The Kingdom of Heaven on Earth, you will see the way I handled the 7 seals, okay? You look at that, you see that we're still living within the fulfillment of those seals. But the important chapter here that seems to dominate discussions when you talk about the prophecies of Revelation is chapter 13 of the book of Revelation. Okay, I'm going to read a few excerpts from this chapter 13. Of course, having the background from chapter 12, but I won't be able to read that. It says from verse 1, "And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up from the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy." Okay? "And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth was the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority." Very important. And what is it saying here? Okay, a beast came out of the nations. Remember, we have already treated this, so I'm going to be going through it quickly. Okay, the sea represents the nations. Okay, so the dragon comes out of the nations. Of course, he has horns, and of course, you know what the horns mean. They're different rulers, different leaders of different nations. Okay, those are the horns. You don't have to go through it again. You already know it. Students of the Bible, go to the book of Daniel. Okay, you will know all that. Okay, so okay, and there were crowns upon these horns, upon his heads. He has different, 10 horns. Upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Okay, now the heads have names of blasphemy. That is, they challenge God. Okay, they say, we're not subservient to you, O God. We are on our own. Okay, now this has marked world history from time immemorial. Okay, from the time of the recorded Israelites, ancient Israelites, right up to now. Kings have called themselves King of Kings. That title has been known For some kings, after Christianity, for some of them was actually, under God. They felt they were kings, they were a king of kings under God. But before Christianity, if you were the king of kings, you were God in no other, in no uncertain terms, okay? You were God himself. So it's an ancient thing. Kings always challenge and claimed to be God, okay? So this is the issue. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. Some people who will interpret this will interpret it as the different nations. The bear, of course, representing probably Russia, and all that, and the leopard probably representing, if I can remember now, I think talking about Europe or something, and then America had a place in there. But that is their own interpretation. I'm not going to go into that right now. My place of interest is the very point where we talk about the 666. I'm going to be focusing on that, okay? And we'll see where that comes from there.
Discover a transformative journey into the kingdom of heaven. Following the initial publication, the author dives deeper with 2 insightful follow-up books. Ever felt disconnected from God even in worship? Explore how God's unconventional ways can transform your life. How can you align with divine plans, avoiding distractions? Find answers in The Kingdom of Heaven on Earth and The 3, Illuminating Christian Truths and Prophetic Practices. Unlock profound insights guiding you toward a deeper connection with God. Don't miss out. Dive into this enlightening exploration today. Click the link on the caption to get your copy.
So, okay. Now, it says what? And his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. This is very important. It is the dragon that gives this very beast his power and his authority. Okay, the beast was like the leopard, okay? So the dragon gives him his power. And what does that mean? Satan, of course, is the dragon, okay? And he's the one who empowers the beast, okay? So this is the whole concept behind it, okay? This great beast that is going to rule over the world, okay, is, of course, the Antichrist. And he is empowered by the dragon, okay? This is all that we need to know. And this is a prophecy that has been fulfilled over and over again. I have always said it in my own interpretations that, sometimes Christian interpretations were dominated by the expectance of a particular person, okay? And this one particular person is going to be the Antichrist. He's going to have so much power, and he's going to be worshipped by the nations, and he's going to be the one to blaspheme and, lead the world against God, okay? But I have tended to say that it is rather a system. Many people do agree with that, but, this is the focus. That's the problem, okay? They focus on this one individual, this special child, and, there's this concept that this child is going to be born actually looking like a beast, having horns. Of course, we know the film Hellboy, and he's going to be, some kind of guy with a tail, or red skin, as described in the Bible, So this is the problem that we normally have. But if we are really to understand what the Bible is saying, we would understand that it is a system, okay? It's a system, it's a global system. It's a system of leadership that not only leaders are going to submit to that system, but the majority of the world population will submit to that system and have agreed that that system is what they want, okay? Just like when the Israelites agreed that they wanted a king instead of the the rule of Samuel and the judges. Okay, so it's just going to be like that. And so this is what is really happening. If you're wondering what is happening in the world, this is what is happening in the world. It's nothing so far off. No, it is right there before you. This is the prophecy that is coming to pass, and it has always been. Okay, so this is the issue that we need to understand. And as I was commenting yesterday on my Twitter handle, X handle, I was saying it, okay? Even Christianity, when it became a state religion during the time of Constantine, did not last a full 3 centuries. You know, before the Antichrist himself took over again, okay? Or the system of the Antichrist took over again. And that is why another religion had to come up, you know, to hide, in my view. And that is my sympathy for Islam, okay? To hide so that Christians can go back into hiding while the two political powers began to fight one another. And as a result of that fight between Islam and established Christianity, that actually Christianity grew. I don't know. I'm one of those who believes that it is possible that Christianity would have died out but for the presence of Islam. Okay, there was that competition, and it is still the competition that rules the world system. Okay, it's the competition that rules the world system and creates the world system, and we are all under it. And when you discover it and you refuse to participate, that is when the 666 begins to affect you. And what is the principle of the 666? The principle of the 666 is that you cannot make a living. Okay, you go to the market, you can't buy, you cannot sell, you know, and all that. So this is what we need to understand. And if you are crying, if you are confused, this is the answer. The system that governs you is an evil system, no matter what it claims to be. And you will see it there when you read down. I'm going to skip to verse 12 there. Okay. And he says, and he exercised all power of the first beast before him. Okay, there's a second beast that will come up that exercises, okay, all the powers of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast. Now, this is very important. Okay, so the 6 is the first beast. The second 6 is this second beast, and this second beast has all the power of the first beast, but he does not come on his own, okay, because he is copying the Godhead. Remember, he wants to copy the same thing that the Godhead does. So he comes to represent the first beast, and he tells people to worship the first beast, that his authority comes from the first beast. Okay, so this is what it is. Okay, and he calls it the earth, and them which dwell upon it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth and in the sight of men. This is going to be a powerful miracle worker. Okay, and it doesn't tell us whether it's going to be spiritual miracles or physical miracles. Okay, based from science or whatever. But he does wonderful things, and everybody loves him. Everybody applauds him. That is natural. Human beings will applaud. Human beings want to see this. And that is what he's going to do, or the system that the ruler is going to do. And of course, that is what I said in the other video when I was talking about Trump and Elon Musk. And I said, look, there is an ancient trap, okay, that every leader of the world will walk into or avoid. That's what I said, okay. And because I grew up knowing some of the weaknesses of religion, and I had to deal with these things myself, and so I know the trap. So no matter, it's not just about how good you are. You are hounded by a system, and that system wants to draw you in. And the 666 is not just one person. It is most human beings are tempted by it. And most human beings will receive the mark. There's no difference between the person who will lead the 666 and the people who follow it. As far as you have the mark, okay? You are the 666, okay? And so there is going to be this powerful figure that is going to do miracles. And he's not going to take the credit. He's going to give the credit to the first beast, okay? It is Satan, of course. And of course, this ruling government which Satan, okay, has established. So this second beast is going to support the first beast. And one thing we did not read about the first beast is that, okay, and he said it was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth and blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven, and was given to him to make war on the saints, and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations, okay? He actually made war on the church, on the people of God, okay? And for me here, it is not the organized church as like that, but the people of God. And that was the same thing that happened between the 5th and the 10th centuries, okay? The church, the visible church, was gradually sucked into depravity, into all sorts of wicked acts, while Christianity itself was not moved by the visible church. Rather, it was moved by individual Christians who, went all over the world and preached the gospel on their own, okay? Some of them under some form of denominational name, but this is how Christianity grew. And if not for the rise of Islam, I don't think that would have been possible, because the Antichrist had actually taken over the church, okay, at that time. And so this is going to happen again, okay, and it's happening, okay. And that is what explains the kind of divisive nature of the church as it is right now. So many denominations, okay. So if you find that difficult, I struggle with it myself many times. Why is the church so divided? Why are we not, making use of what we have? Most of my podcasts and my letters are talking about that, okay. Why are we not the way we're supposed to? But somehow God allows it to be like that, okay. And so we continue from there, okay. So the second beast will be a miracle worker, somebody who does great things, okay, and he gives credit to the first beast, okay. And verse 14 says, and deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image of the beast, okay, which had the wound by the sword and did live. He's going to make them to worship the first beast, okay. He's going to worship the first beast. This is very important. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive the mark in their hand and on their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark of the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Okay, now, so this is what we talked about. He's going to control the economy, and he is going to hinder anybody who does not receive the mark of the beast, okay, not to participate in economic activities. Okay, now this is the next 6. Okay, so we've talked about the lion, the leopard, which is a 6, and this very power that arises to support him, which is the next beast. Okay, And of course, the first 6 is the dragon himself, okay? Is the dragon himself that was given power, and I've told you that that comes from chapter 12, which I did not read. So this is what makes the 666, okay? The first 6 is the dragon, the second 6 is the leopard, and the last 6 is this very powerful person who will come and support him, and he is called the false prophet, okay? He's called the false prophet. He is going to support him, and he's going to say that all should bow to this beast, okay? Which is listed here according to chapter 13, okay? So there are 2 beasts listed here in chapter 13, okay? The leopard and then the second beast, okay? Let me just read that a bit, okay? And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. He is also like a dragon, okay? And he exercised all power of the first beast before him, okay? First beast, so 2 beasts, okay, in chapter 13. But the first beast, which is the dragon, is of course in chapter 12, okay? And he is the one that gives this beast in chapter 13 his power, okay? And then there comes a third beast, which is the second beast in chapter 13, who now instructs everybody to worship the beast that came before him. So this is the 666. And so the aim of these is not to make spiritual war, not to demonize anybody, but to cripple the economy of those that do not submit to them, okay? And this is very, very important, and we must understand this. And if we understand that the system that has created the world as we have it today is built on these principles, we will be more careful, especially those of us who are Christians, in how we engage our means of livelihood, okay? If we accept any means of livelihood that goes contrary to the Bible, we are accepting a system that has been there before us that will take control of our minds and our hearts and our habits and everything that we do, and will impose on us the governance of this Antichrist, okay, instead of the governance of God. And it is very, very important. And when you see what is happening in the world today, people are killed in abundance without explanation, so rampantly, okay? These are some of the evidence of the unfolding events that have been happening and will still happen. There's evidence to show that at the time Islam was coming up, the Roman Empire was indeed punished, just like it was prophesied in the book of Revelation here in chapter 13. Chapter 18. It did happen. The Roman Empire was punished by God, okay, through the division of the empire itself, through war and natural disaster. And this was what marked, okay, the fulfillment of these prophecies. And it is happening again for the second time. And I don't have time, and I'm not going to do that on the podcast, but if I normally speak every Sunday, Christ Revival Mission here in Jos, and I've done a series on this. And of course, if you buy the book, The Kingdom of Heaven on Earth, the works of a silent crusader, you will read about some of these fulfillments, okay? The parallel line of fulfillment, okay, that Revelation reveals, okay? And one path has already been fulfilled. This is the second path of the fulfillment we are going through right now. And of course, like I have warned in the last video, we do not rush to put on anybody any mark and say, okay, this person is a 666 or that person is a 666. No, we are all participants in this system if we are not careful. Okay, and it all is marked by what we accept, what habits we imbibe. Okay, and I'm going to talk finally on this after the short break.
Discover a transformative journey into the kingdom of heaven. Following the initial publication, the author dives deeper with 2 insightful follow-up books. Ever felt disconnected from God even in worship? Explore how God's unconventional ways can transform your life. How can you align with divine plans, avoiding distractions? Find answers in The Kingdom of Heaven on Earth, and The 3, Illuminating Christian Truths and Prophetic Practices. Unlock profound insights guiding you toward a deeper connection with God. Don't miss out. Dive into this enlightening exploration today. Click the link on the caption to get your copy.
Okay, what is the genesis and what are the principles that describe this 666 or this world government? Okay, now when we go from the beginning of the story that the Bible tells us, that Cain made a living by growing crops. And he made a living by growing crops, and he was supposed to give a sacrifice to God. His brother was a shepherd, and both gave their own sacrifices. Cain had his own sheep, but refused to give a sheep, which was the commandment by God, and instead he offered his plants. Okay, and God said no. He accepted Abel's offering and rejected Cain's, and because of that, Cain killed his brother Abel. Now, this is the genesis of the story. Although the story is debated as to whether it was really a historical event or it was a symbolic story, both still apply. Okay? The competition between two men, okay, to provide for themselves, provide for their family, and that symbol of provision is demanded of God to be presented to him. And this is what the Israelites did for most of their history. Okay, they presented the proceeds, a little portion, just a little, to God as offerings, and God accepted them and their families based on these things, because it is a commandment from God for a man to provide for his family. Okay, and of course Cain felt disappointed that God did not accept his offering, even though he had worked hard to provide. Okay, and instead of really asking why, he took offense at his brother Abel and he killed him. Okay, this is what continues to repeat itself throughout history. Okay, and this is the foundation of the 666. The foundation, okay, as you see very clearly, the end of what the 666 wants to achieve is to deprive a particular group of people of economic dividends. Okay, and for what reason, we don't know. It's not spiritual. We tend to talk of everything as if it's a spiritual thing, but at the end we discover that it is an economic thing. So this is the foundation of the 666. Okay, and we must understand this. And this same thing creates this tribal division. Okay, ethnicity. Okay, I am a man, you are not a man. This is what describes every ethnic issue on the face of the earth. One tribe invades the other tribe, and the aim is to eliminate all the men in that other tribe, sometimes even all the women and children, and to establish themselves as the dominant species. Okay, so that is what the Bible helps us to understand. And when God wants to help the world, he chooses this particular group of people called the Israelites, takes them through a journey of experience. Okay, teaches them how to lead their lives, how to dominate the earth, how to provide for their families, how to be accepted by him, and then gives them their own land. And in the process of all this, there is a dispute between him and them. And then he says, no, I don't want you to be that one special people again. And he now opens it up to the rest of the world. and brings all the people of the world together and say, now I want you all under me, because I am the King of Kings. Okay, and that is the story. Okay, and so he does this, and we see at the end of everything, he tries to eliminate this concept of one superior race, okay, one superior tribe. He eliminates it, and he brings all the people of the world together. We see that this is the most valuable concept here in the coming of Jesus Christ, his death and his resurrection. Okay, he says there is no more slave or free, okay, Jew no Gentile, male or female, and he brings everybody under his own rule and government. Okay, and he continues, and that is what subsists. Okay, and we see that whatever has caused the problems of the church and of his movement on the earth, it has been this ethnic issue. Okay, and it has divided the church from the time of the 5th century right up to the 10th century, and that is where Islam came up, also under a more tribal agenda. Okay, the tribes of the Middle East. Okay, and up to today, Islam is founded on that foundation. Okay, with honoring the Arabic language more than any other language, just like the Jews honor their own language. And that tribal thing keeps on going on. And today we face the same threat. And this same threat is the threat of a kind of global war between so-called Western civilization, which is of course thought to be a white civilization, against other civilizations in the world. Okay, so this is the problem, this is the threat, and this is the basis of the 666. Okay, it is always tribal, it is always racial. Okay, and in the finality of it is to enthrone one race above all others, and usurp the position of God himself. Okay, so there are practical implications of what this thing means, and this is what we're beginning to see unfold. And if you're going to make any judgment for yourself, for your family, okay, it's very important at this point. And this is what is going to determine it. I'm David Dungi Chinke for you today in Searching the Heart.